So, I was going to review that a little bit, but I only have about 6 minutes. Yeah, maybe 7 minutes. So, here's what we're going to try to do. We're going to run through it once, and when we're done, class is over. How about that? Is that motivation? Yes. Oh, you're just ready to go. Okay. So when we're done, I thought it was a question. When we're done, the class is over. Genesis chapter 1, creation. Genesis chapter 2, special events of creation. Chapter 3, fall of man. Chapter 4, Cain and Abel. Genesis chapter 5, genealogy. Genesis chapter 6, Noah before the flood. 7, 8, and 9, Noah after the flood. Genesis chapter 10, genealogy. Genesis chapter 11, Tower of Babel. Genesis chapter 12, call of Abraham. Abraham lived in a place called Ur of the Chaldees. God promised Abraham 3 things. He promised him a land. He promised him a seed. He promised him a Savior. Abraham said, sounds like a good deal to me. He packed up his family and moved to the land that God had promised him. Abraham had 2 sons. The oldest son's name is Ishmael. Abraham said, God said. Second son is Abraham said, God said. Isaac had 2 sons. Oldest son's name was Esau. Isaac said, God said. Second son was Isaac said, God said. Jacob had 12 sons. 10 of the sons sold their younger brother, whose name was Joseph, into slavery down in the land of Egypt. Meanwhile, back in the land, there was an incredible famine. So Jacob, whose name is changed to Israel, packs up his 11 sons and moves down to Egypt, where they stay for the next 400 years. After 400 years, there's a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph, and God raised up a new leader, and his name is Moses. For 40 years, he is the son of Pharaoh's daughter. For 40 years, he is a shepherd in the wilderness, and for 40 years, he is the leader of God's people. And God sends Moses to Pharaoh to say, let my people go. And Moses goes to Pharaoh and says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no way, Moses. How many times does he go to Pharaoh? 10 times. What does Pharaoh say? 10 times. Until God brings the 10th plague, which is the death of the firstborn. And all the firstborn of men and animals die in the land of Egypt. And Moses leads the people through the Red Sea to Mount Sinai. They receive the law, build the tabernacle. They go north from Mount Sinai to a place called Kadesh Barnea. They send out 12 spies. 10 of the spies say, no way, Moses. 2 of the spies say, okay, Moses. All the people say, no way, Moses. God says you'll all die. And over the next 40 years, every adult of that generation had died except for 2, Joshua and Caleb. And God raises up a new leader, and his name is Joshua. Joshua leads the people through the Jordan River. Three military campaigns. A central campaign where they defeat the cities of Jericho, Ai. Southern campaign. Northern campaign. Joshua divides the land among the 12 tribes. Then we have 7 spiritual ups and downs under 12 judges, when everyone did that which was right in their own eyes, until all the people said, we want a king. We want a king. We want a king like the rest of the nations. So God gave them a king like the rest of the nations. His name was Saul. The first king was, the second king's name was David, and he was God's choice. Third king was Solomon, and he was the wisest and the richest king that ever lived. How do you get to be the richest king that ever lived? Raise taxes. And all the people said, no more taxes. No more taxes. No more taxes, please. But what did Solomon say? Raise taxes. So there was a civil war. Instead of 1 nation, we have 2. The nation in the south was known as, the nation in the north was known as, capital in the south is Jerusalem. Capital in the north is Samaria. How many tribes do we have in the south? How many tribes do we have in the north? Did they ever have a good king in the north? Until 722, God raises up a man by the name of Shalmaneser V. He comes down and he takes the 10 northern tribes into captivity, never to be heard of again. Did they ever have a good king down in the south? How many good kings did they have? But eventually they had bad king after bad king. So God raises up a man over here again by the name of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar comes in, and there are 3 deportations. In 605 BC, Daniel and the princes. 597 BC, Ezekiel and the priests. 586 BC, all of Jerusalem is taken into captivity, where they stay for the next 70 years. And God raises up a new leader by the name of Zerubbabel. Okay? And Zerubbabel and Joshua the high priest lead 50,000 people back to Jerusalem. God raises up another leader by the name of Ezra. Ezra, he brings back about 2,000, and what does Ezra do? He writes about the first return. The final leader God raises up is a man by the name of Nehemiah. Nehemiah brings back about 2,000 people also, and they rebuild the walls. And that brings us to the end of the Old Testament, and you can take your break. Good job.